All right, we are live. What is up, YouTube? This is Brian from Bull Strength. And today I'm going to be going through comments and basically answering questions. So I pretty much have gone through every video on the channel and have found some comments kind of worth commenting on. So we're going to run through them one by one and answer your questions. So if any of you guys, you sign in, sorry, I'm a little nervous here. If any of you guys have any additional questions, feel free to just throw it out there in the chat. But like I said, I'm just going to run through the questions that you guys have already asked. So first of all, I just want to say real quick, thank you guys for subscribing. I'm almost at 700 subs right now. I don't know where you guys are coming from, but I really appreciate the support. And I hope that I can entertain you guys and make some quality content here in the future. So anyway, we're going to start with the weirdest video that I did not expect to go viral. This was my video on smelling salts. Have quite a few interesting questions on here. I'm just going to kind of run through them one by one and address anything that you guys have. And like I said, if you guys think of anything else, feel free to leave me a question in the chat, whether it's about bull strength, about me, about training, programming, whatever you can think of, or you just want to call me an asshole or tell me I'm wrong about Mark Rippetoe, whatever it is, feel free to leave a comment. So, ammonia. All right, so the first question I have here is, would smelling salts be able to be used for running 5Ks? And the answer to that is a resounding no. So the only point in using ammonia and using smelling salts is for hyping yourself up for a maximal strength attempt. And there's been a lot of studies done on smelling salts. Some have concluded that it absolutely does add to your performance, and some of them have concluded that it adds absolutely nothing. So even whether it's effective in strength training and powerlifting, strongman, whatever it is, whether it's even effective for that is up for debate. However, if you want to use it, go for it. Just treat it like any other stimulant. Don't abuse it. Use it sparingly. Don't use it every single time you train. Just make sure you're only using it when you're going for maximal strength attempts. And especially if you're in competition, you got the green light to pretty much use it pretty much all day for your competition. But like I said, use it kind of minimally in training. So any kind of steady state work. So if you're talking about bike riding, running, and like this person is obviously someone who runs 5Ks, you're not going to get anything out of using smelling salts for running a 5K, because the point is to basically kick your central nervous system into high gear for short bursts of power, right? Not a steady, sustained amount of power that's going to be lasting, possibly several hours. You want to use it for maximal output. So if you're hitting a big deadlift, you're hitting a big squat, bench press, overhead press, log clean, whatever your poison is. If you feel like you need an extra boost, go ahead and use that ammonia for that. But if you're a runner, like I said, I do not recommend it. Okay, on to question number 2. All right, so David Smith asks me, hey man, can you smell ammonia in the morning right when you wake up to help get out of bed? And let me say first, anytime you guys ask me a question, anytime you guys comment on my channel, I'm going to read it and I'm going to reply. So these questions that I'm answering in this video have technically already been answered in comments. I just figured I would elaborate a little bit more through this live stream here. So yeah, so should you use ammonia first thing in the morning when you wake up to help you get out of bed? And the answer to that is no, because like I said, ammonia is not something you want to get in the habit of using too often. It's definitely not something, you want to be reliant on, especially for like waking up in the morning. Maybe get a cup of coffee or, get a cold shower. Cold showers are really great for energizing your nervous system. So something like that would be a heck of a lot better than using smelling salts. I couldn't imagine rolling out of bed and having ammonia be the first thing that hits my system in the morning. I imagine that would not benefit you in the long term. Like I said, it is going to burn out your mucous membranes over time. So it is something that you want to use very sparingly. It is like any other stimulant. It's like any other drug. You pretty much want to be using it sparingly. Okay, so I just got through the second question here, and we have a question in the chat here from Barbell King. Decline bench press as an accessory movement for bench. Decline is, hey, what's up, David? Decline bench as an accessory for bench. It all depends on your sticking point. The decline is going to have more range of motion, and it's a little bit easier. So I guess you could overload. Personally, I'm just not a fan of the decline in general. I know that's probably not the answer you want to hear, but if you're, and feel free to reply to me in the chat. What exactly are you like stuck? Are you hitting a plateau or something like that, and you're looking for a new accessory for bench, or exactly what is the case there? Because if that's the case, I would recommend some like board press, pause bench press, especially pause bench press, and even like pausing halfway through the range of motion. These are going to be great for building up explosive strength. That's going to help you get more weight, especially floor press. Floor press is excellent for getting that bench press up. But yeah, to answer your question, I don't really see any benefit to doing the decline as an accessory for bench. Personally, I would gravitate more towards an incline, especially a close grip incline that's going to be targeting your triceps a little bit harder. Just be conservative with the weight, because obviously close grip incline is going to be a lot harder. And then, of course, the overhead press. Overhead press is something that I focus very heavily on as not an accessory to the bench press, but actually as another primary movement that kind of carries over. Okay, so Barbell King asked, we're just wondering, since weighted dips have good carryover to bench, right? And you're kind of working over a similar range of motion there. I was wondering to include decline bench temporarily. Would it help since the movement pattern is similar? No, like I said, I personally would go for incline, especially the close grip incline, and floor press, board press, limiting the range of motion, even an Anderson press. Anderson presses are fantastic. However, you're going to be that douchebag in the gym that's hogging a squat rack so you can do bench press. Because an Anderson bench press is essentially a bench press minus the stretch reflex. So one of the things that helps you get the weight up is the sort of the slingshot effect that happens when your muscles go from lengthening to tightening. That's one of the things that helps you get weight. With the Anderson press, you have the barbell already sitting on pins pretty much at the bottom of the lift, and you get no stretch reflex. You just have to press it off your chest. So the Anderson is a very good carryover if you don't mind pissing people off for hogging, one of the squat racks, essentially. Yeah, pin press, incline press, I would say would have better carryovers. I focus these days. I focus a lot more on the overhead press since I started competing in strongman. So I don't really focus a lot on bench press anymore. I actually use the bench press as more of an accessory. But, going back to my old bench pressing days, I would say the incline and the pin press and the floor press are going to have better carryover. Thoughts on front squats carrying over to low bar? All the different squat variations are basically going to synergize into each other. The front squat is going to be fantastic just because you're going to build a lot of shoulder girdle strength. Because you're going to have the bar sitting on your front deltoids. It's going to build up that shoulder girdle a hell of a lot more. So as far as your upper body goes, your upper back and stuff, as far as handling the low bar squat, it's going to give you a little more strength in that department. So a front squat would be a very legitimate accessory accessory to the low bar squat. Am I going to play the guitar? Not right now. Actually, one of my live streams, I did start off playing, my little intro. I started off playing it on the acoustic. I don't remember which live stream that was, or even if it's still on my channel. But I don't know if you guys have any requests. You guys want to hear "Stairway to Heaven" or something? I guess we could go completely off topic. Anyway, moving on to the next question. So this one is from Freddy Boy AU 79. So this guy says, I am 17 and a half years old. I've been doing powerlifting for the past 11 months. If I use ammonia, let's say once a week on average, is it okay, considering that I'm also underage? Like I said, ammonia, it's a stimulant. You want to use it sparingly. And if you're only 17 years old, I wouldn't be too worried about squeezing out a couple extra pounds on your lifts. I mean, if you're a competitive power lifter at 17, you're already ahead of the curve. You're already kicking ass. So I wouldn't even really worry about using ammonia at that age. I would use it when you're a little more advanced. But, if you wanted to use it once in a while in a competition, ask your doctor first. I have to throw that out there since you're a minor. But check with your mom and dad or whatever you have to do before actually using ammonia in competition, because there are some negative side effects to it, but most of them are in the long term, like I said. All right, so Barbell King looks like he's got another comment here. Romanian deadlift and good mornings carry over to deadlift. LMFAO. I'm just going to be abusing these carryover questions. Yeah, I don't care, dude. I mean, if you want to, if you want to keep asking questions, I'm here. So if you're the only guy talking to me in chat between music requests from David and accessory requests from you, I'm fine with that. But Romanian deadlift and good morning carry over into deadlift. Personally, I'm more of a fan of deadlifting with bands. But it all depends on where your sticking point is with the deadlift. So I'm sure that you have tried to go for maximal weight, a max effort set. Typically, when you are tapped out, do you have more problem pulling the bar off the ground, or do you have more problem locking the bar out once it's up? That's really the question you have to ask yourself in terms of determining what kind of accessories are going to help you with the deadlift. So, I mean, like good mornings. If you have a weak lower back, I assume that would be a good thing. I know Westside Barbell is very big on using good mornings for deadlifting. I personally don't do good mornings only because I have back issues from the military. And the good morning it does not feel good. The low bar squat and the good morning do not feel good for me whatsoever. But yeah, Romanian deadlifts, I guess that would have carryover. It wouldn't be my number one accessory. I'll say that. Like I said, you're either going to be weak off the ground or you're going to be weak locking out. So if you're weak off the ground, you want to work on increasing your range of motion so that you can build up more speed. So you're going to want to be doing things like deficit deadlifts, snatch deadlifts, and even banded deadlifts will help you get more speed off the ground, which is going to help you get more weight off the ground. If you have a problem with locking out, once again, deadlifting with bands is going to help, which is why I say that's my number one accessory, because it kind of carries over to both. But deadlifting with bands is definitely going to help. Any kind of accommodating resistance. So, if you want to use chains or something like that, or, if you do have a problem locking out, isolating the lockout is going to help out a lot too. So whether you're doing high handled trap bar deadlifts or rack pulls, those are going to carry over very well. So before we move on, I'm going to read one more question off of the ammonia video. Then we're going to get back to the chat here in a second. So this is from iSpookyO. It says, at Bull Strength, will this make me pop for a drug test? Pop for a drug in a drug test. And once again, we're talking about, these are comments off of the ammonia video. The answer to that is a no. Like, there's absolutely nothing in ammonia that's going to make you pop for a drug test. I don't think it is a thing for people to concentrate and abuse ammonia, unless you're like literally trying to torture yourself or it's some kind of weird fetish or some shit. But there's really nothing that you would get out of doing ammonia in a sort of a drug way. So, no, it's definitely not going to make you pop hot for a drug test because there's no drug in ammonia. No, you know what I mean by drug. I know that I looked through the comments on the ammonia video, people being like, oh, well, technically it is a drug. It's like, I'm talking about street drugs. Like, I'm not snorting meth or freaking doing coke, obviously. So anyway, all right, next question here. This is from Barbell King again. Have you experimented with the conjugate system? I'm not asking as a personal question since I'm not advanced enough, but I'm assuming that you've experimented with it already. I have. I have read Louis Simmons' book, and I have experimented with some conjugate training, splitting between maximal effort lifting and speed lifting. However, when I did experiment with it, I was a little bit more, probably more where you're at, kind of more of like an intermediate lifter. And I don't feel like I got very much out of it. As a matter of fact, when I switched, what was the next program I did after conjugate? I did the Bulgarian method, which is another advanced training method. But for whatever reason, this one worked a lot better for me. The Bulgarian method helped me break plateaus. The conjugate method, I assume I'm going to be using it one day. I mean, there's no doubt. Louis Simmons definitely knows what he's talking about. He trained some of the strongest lifters on the planet. So I definitely trust what that guy has to say. So I will give it another go, especially if I do plan on getting back into powerlifting. But like I said, right now, I've kind of crossed over to strongman. I did the strength camp challenge, which was a hybrid. And then I have a competition coming up in February, which is a full-blown, car deadlift, truck pulling, fucking full-blown strongman contest. So going to be kind of walking away from powerlifting for a little bit. However, if you guys have questions or need coaching or whatever, I can definitely help you with powerlifting. So to answer your question, yeah, I experimented with conjugate, but I experimented when I was still a little bit too new. So I didn't really get the results that I desired from it. I didn't really break any plateaus from it till I actually switched into Bulgarian. Top 10 action movies. Let's have a good laugh. All right, we'll get to that in a second. Black coffee or green tea. This is peppermint tea. So there's no stimulant in here. Where I'm at, it's 6:30 at night, so I don't need any caffeine. This is just kind of something to chill with. Top 10 action movies of all time. You put me on the spot, man. That's a tough one. Oh man, I mean, I definitely couldn't organize them from in like a top 10 sense or anything, but I could throw out some of my favorite ones. In more recent times, I was a huge fan of the Dredd movie. Dredd was really good. The new Mad Max was really good. I saw Rambo 4. That was fantastic. I've not seen Rambo 5 yet. I hear it's really good, but then I hear it's terrible. But the people that are saying it's terrible seem to be these blue-haired weirdos. So I'm going to go ahead and ignore their opinion when it comes to that. I mean, these are the same people that said that the Chappelle stand-up was bad, and that was fucking phenomenal. I laughed my ass off from that. What else? Predator is another one of my favorites. The first Die Hard is a classic. I don't really know, man. Like, I don't really watch a lot of movies nowadays. I'm more of just a YouTube guy. I pretty much just watch political content and other lifters. Couple channels that I got into. I actually want to give a couple shout outs here, but a couple channels that are kind of newer that I've been kind of impressed with. One called Winning Strength. This guy is a former Army Ranger, strongman competitor, world record powerlifter, and he gives out really good advice. So definitely check his stuff out. And then if you kind of like my videos on like thin privilege and fat acceptance, and if you're kind of a fan of like every damn day fitness, there's a channel called Pure Bullfit. which I just found this guy the other day, but his shit it's hilarious. It's on point. And he just eviscerates the crap out of some people. So if you want to see some of the fakes in the fitness industry get completely torn to pieces, definitely check out Pure Bullfoot. That guy does not pull any punches whatsoever. Anyway, green tea. Will you ever do an Olympic lifting meet so you can have the triathlon achievement in the lifting community, weightlifting, powerlifting, and strongman? Honestly, no. I am a little bit older. I'm going to be 36 this summer. So my competitive years are, I definitely have some years left, but I'm not looking to kind of branch out into a bunch of different things. I just need to focus on a few things and get good. So I'm going to keep doing strongman for the short term. I'd like to do at least a couple competitions, see if I can get competitive in the state and possibly nationally. And then I might circle back and do powerlifting. I'm a huge fan of biking too, which biking is I've determined that's like going to be my old man retirement sport, doing like 100-mile bike races and stuff. Anyway, so I don't have any plans on doing Olympic weightlifting. I don't really have any experience with it. And yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. I think the sport is cool. Every time the Summer Olympics, comes around, I'm definitely glued to the TV when the weightlifting is on. But I mean, it's too late in my life to kind of take on a new sport. Like I said, I'm almost 36. So Davy Jones, no whiskey. Correct. I swear this is tea. This is peppermint tea. Twinings. Old movies. Are you saying you want me to list more old action movies? 36 looking good. Oh, well, thank you. I try. I do my best. Okay, Barbell King has another question here. Second question: thoughts on Maddox's bench press record? I don't even know who this Maddox guy is. Who is this? Is this another YouTuber or something? Like I said, I'm not super in tune with the powerlifting community. I was a few years ago, back when people were still talking about Gene Rychek, rest in peace. When he broke 1,000 pounds on the bench press, that was a fantastic feat for sure. I'm not sure who Maddox is though. I mean, if you want to send me a link, I'll check him out. But I mean, do you want to? Oh, 745 raw. I mean, the dude is a monster, obviously. I'll have to check him out. Like I said, I mean, give me his full name or something like that, or like a link to his channel or something, and I'll check him out. But I mean, that's really impressive. Yeah, my PR right now is around 355. 355 is the last one that I got. So I'm no Larry Wheels for sure. I would love to get to that 400 mark. But like I said, I'm not Larry Wheels, so I'm not going to be one day. I'm not going to be like doing 25 reps of 405. But if I can just get one rep of 405 at some point in my life, I would be happy. Especially because I am a little bit lighter weight, only 5'9", and I am about 200 pounds. So that is extremely impressive, though. 745 raw bench. Yeah, the guy that I was referencing, Gene Rychek, he's the guy that founded RPS, Revolution Powerlifting Syndicate. He had 1,000-pound bench press. I want to say it was like in the late 90s, early 2000s, but obviously it was equipped. He was wearing a suit. I want to say that there's another guy out there who's done over 1,000 pounds on bench, but it's with a suit. So Arnie and still on. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, you're jogging my memory a little bit. I mean, honestly, going back to the action movie question, in my opinion, Rocky IV is cinematic perfection. It's one of the greatest movies ever made. I've probably seen it like 50 times. What'd you retract your message for? Yeah, whatever. But yeah, if we're talking about Stallone, definitely the Rocky movies. There's no questioning. Skipping the fifth one, every single Rocky movie has been phenomenal. Some of them are kind of weird. Rocky 3 is a little bit weird. Rocky 4 is even weird, but especially if you're an 80s kid like me, you can appreciate it for the nostalgia factor, at least the kind of the corny U.S. versus Soviet Union theme going on. You can't send a link. Julius Maddox. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely check him out, man, for sure. That's really impressive. And let's see, Schwarzenegger. Terminator 2. What else? Man, I'm drawing a blank, man. Like I said, I have not been really watching movies or anything like that in quite a while. So, who the hell else? Man, I'm drawing a blank. I really am. Why are your are you deleting your messages? I hope that like they're not. I know I don't have a moderator on here, so yeah, I don't have a moderator, so I don't know why your messages are getting deleted, unless you're just embarrassed, which is whatever, dude. Okay, so Barbell King, when you moved on to Strongman, did you notice any significant carryover to everyday activity, such as helping your friend's family move or just navigating normally? Honestly, I noticed a major difference just from doing powerlifting. Yeah, I mean, I was a lot more functionally strong. God, I really hate that term because of CrossFit, but I had a solid base of functional strength thanks to powerlifting. So it obviously made moving couches and moving boxes and stuff like that a lot easier. I was definitely like the go-to guy that every family member and friend would call to help move. And now that I'm kind of in strongman, I will say this. I feel better. I feel better because I feel like with powerlifting, I was just focusing on bench, overhead, squat, and deadlift. And it got very repetitive. I got, reasonably strong in these lifts, but I was really starting to feel the effects of kind of using the same repetitive patterns over and over for years. Which is another reason why I kind of decided to switch over to strongman. The great thing about strongman is that every competition is different. I mean, there's like a pool of 20 to 30 different events that basically the federation is going to choose from. So every competition you're training differently. So for example, the last one I did, there was a deadlift, there was a bench press event that didn't really make sense, kind of why I call it a hybrid competition. But there was a farmer's carry for distance, and then there was an Atlas stone for reps. And that training that I did for that competition is so much different than what I'm doing now. Because like I said, one of the events is pulling a semi. I have to deadlift a car for reps. I have to carry a Husafell stone, which is a 400-pound stone. There's the Rolling Thunder grip, and then the keg clean and press. So every strongman competition you do is going to be different. So you're going to be doing different lifts, getting stronger at different variations, which overall I felt a difference. Like I feel a lot more healthier, if that makes sense. Like I said, with powerlifting, everything just kind of felt a little bit too repetitive. And now that I have kind of switched focus to strongman, I feel a lot stronger overall. I feel like I'm recovering better. I just feel better overall. David Jones, Arnie or Sly movies? I spelt it wrong. Oh, so I have to pick one. Oh God. Well, I'm kind of fucked here, right? I mean, either answer that I give is going to be wrong to at least half of you. Geez. I would say personally, only because I was really obsessed with Rocky as a kid. Like I said, I probably seen Rocky 4 like 50 times. Anytime I have a girlfriend, like we're sitting down and watching Rocky, especially like if you have a girlfriend, like getting through Rocky 1 is really easily because it is kind of a hybrid love story. But yeah, like it definitely, I would have to say Sly. But Arnold's movies are freaking fantastic too. Like I said, Predator is like one of the best horror action movies ever made. Terminator 2, same thing. They both have their strengths and weaknesses. It's probably the reason why I like Sylvester more than Arnold is that I had like strict parents, so I wasn't really allowed to watch rated R movies when I was a little kid. So I kind of missed out on the Terminators I did get to watch Terminator, but pretty much every other Arnold movie I was not allowed to watch. I actually didn't watch like True Lies and a lot of his 80s and 90s stuff until I was in the military. I was kind of bored on the base with nothing to do. But yeah, I would say Sly, just because of my childhood. I just, was exposed to more Sylvester Stallone than I was to Schwarzenegger. Overall, though, I mean, I say I like Arnold more only because he's more well-rounded. He competed in powerlifting and bodybuilding. And I mean, the amount that this guy has given back to the fitness community is astounding. Aside from trying to sell his, crap supplement line by Muscle Farm, he has done nothing but good between the sports festival, making strongman and powerlifting popular. I mean, the dude's just a beast. So I would say Arnold, more of my favorite human being. Sly, I like his movies more. All right. So Barbell King has a question here. What is your favorite isolation accessories that you do for both upper body and lower body? That is an extremely broad question. That's very, very broad. Like I said, I'm in strongman now, so it all depends on the events that I'm training for. Isolation accessories. First of all, if you're doing a lot of pressing, whether it's overhead, incline, flat bench, whatever it is, you always want to make sure that you are working your antagonist muscles, right? So your primary movers when you bench, right? You're using a lot of chest, your front deltoids, and your triceps, right? So if the theme of the day is bench press, I kind of prioritize. So I'll have certain bench press rep and set scheme that I'll be doing for the day. And then I'll have another pressing variation as an accessory. And then I work my antagonist muscles. So basically the ones that aren't getting worked, right? So the triceps are getting worked, the biceps aren't. So I'm going to isolate with curls. The chest is getting worked, the upper back isn't. So I'm going to isolate with face pulls, different types of row variations and stuff like that. So my philosophy with training overall is to stay balanced at all times. Because the second that you start getting imbalanced is when injuries start happening. So staying balanced is very important. So like I said, if it's a bench press day, you're using a lot of tricep, you definitely want to volume up on curls. You want to volume up on upper back work. And what's the other primary mover? And of course, your rear deltoids. You want to isolate those too, since your front deltoids are getting isolated by the bench. And then for squat day, squat is very posterior chain focused. So you're using a lot of glutes, hamstrings, and lower back. So to counter this, we want to think of the antagonist muscles, which ones aren't being used, which ones are local and not being used, basically. And the answer to that is the abs, the hip flexors and the quads. So after you hit your squats, your deadlifts, and you get your accessory movement in, the next step is to hit those antagonist muscles. It's to isolate your quads, to isolate your abs, and make sure that everything stays balanced, because being competitive is it's a very good thing, and getting stronger and stronger is a noble goal to have. However, if you're doing it without thinking about your posture, without thinking about what could possibly be getting out of whack, you're going to be setting yourself up for disaster. So definitely make sure you're hitting those antagonist muscles every single time you work those primary movers. That's just my philosophy, okay? You might go to Alan Thrall's channel or, whatever. You might go to someone else's channel and they might say something totally different. But as for me, posture balance is extremely important, because like I said, once you start getting out of whack, once your hamstrings are super tight and your quads are weak, you're setting yourself up for a knee injury, right? So try to stay as balanced as possible. I hope I answered your question there. That was, like I said, it was a very broad question, so I may have been kind of long-winded. Rachel Kendrick. What is up, Rachel Kendrick? Do I recommend the trap bar? I recommend the trap bar. I love the trap bar. I just put up a tutorial on how to do it. And I focus right now, since I'm training strongman, and this next competition is going to have car deadlifts in it. I've been training a lot of trap bar deadlifts because of the neutral grips. If you look at another YouTuber who is also preparing for a strongman competition featuring the car deadlift, Alan Thrall, he is also using high handle trap bar deadlifts to carry over into the car deadlift. It's just going to mimic that movement pattern a lot better since you're using neutral grips. And yeah, it's just going to have better carryover than a conventional or a sumo deadlift for sure. So yes, I definitely recommend the trap bar deadlift. If you're a strongman competitor, not if you're a power lifter, obviously your bread and butter is going to be either the conventional or the sumo deadlift. But if you are a strongman competitor, you need to be doing trap bar deadlifts. And another thing, if you're a newbie, I know if there's any Ripto fans in the chat right now, you're not going to like this because you guys obviously didn't like the last video I uploaded about him. But it is a lot more beginner friendly, period. The trap bar deadlift is more beginner friendly than a conventional deadlift. The setup is easier. The form is easier. I've trained a lot of people on the straight bar deadlift and the trap bar. And I'll tell you 9 times out of 10, a brand new lifter is going to have a much easier time on the trap bar deadlift. Of course, a newbie to deadlifting is going to hate the trap bar deadlift because it's tough. But yeah, definitely the trap bar. Man, kind of lively tonight. We got some good questions here. All right. Next one from Barbell King. When you were in the Army, how much free time did you have to train per week? Now that question was that kind of depends on what I was doing. So if I was ever in garrison, so I was stationed at Fort Campbell. So if I was ever kind of stuck on Fort Campbell, the work days were generally bullshit. Very rarely would we get out in the field and actually, train for more combat specific stuff. It was mostly just sitting around in a fucking office, watching the paint dry, reading field manuals. I was a pilot, so, I would be reading the checklist. I'd be brushing up on my all kinds of, I'm not going to start using aviation terms and come off as a condescending person, but basically it was just sitting around and studying. So a lot of those work days were shorter, so I had a lot of time in garrison to train. However, I've always just been really into training, so even when I was deployed to Iraq, I still found time to get in the gym and bench and squat and do all that shit, especially because when you're deployed, you still have to pass your PT test, but there's no formation. There's no PT formation anymore. So it's up to you to suck it up and, make it happen. Ensure that you can still pass the PT test. So the answer to that question is, while I was deployed, I just made time. I was working 12, 13-hour shifts 7 days a week, and I would still find a way to get in the gym. However, when I was in garrison, we would train 5 days a week. We would go for runs. We would do muscular strength and endurance. And I went to the gym less while I was in garrison just because I was training with my unit 2 hours a day. But I would get about, an hour session in, maybe once, twice, 3 times a week kind of thing. I was not a competitive power lifter during that time. So, I didn't really have a big focus on doing barbell movements or anything like that. Honestly, I was mostly into just like bench pressing and doing curls and a bunch of basic stuff because I really didn't know what I was doing in the gym. All right. Hope that answers your question. Next one. David Jones. Good answer. Rocky 1 and Rocky 2 for me. Yeah. A lot of people tend to say that those are the 2 best ones. Rocky 1, I would say, is the best movie in the series overall. However, Rocky 4 is my favorite movie in the series. Everything about it is just awesome. I don't even know why, but the soundtrack is phenomenal. I still regularly blast the Rocky 4 soundtrack. I was listening to Rocky 4 today in the gym. Like, it's a pretty regular thing for me to listen to Rocky 4. But the Rocky 1 and Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4, they all have good soundtracks. So very motivating stuff on the gym. All right, Shako TT has a question. Opinions on sumo. First of all, don't let people tell you that sumo is cheating. When people say that sumo deadlift is cheating, they're full of shit. For the most part, it's typically either a troll that doesn't know anything about lifting, or it's basically someone that doesn't know what they're talking about. Whether you're good at the conventional or the sumo deadlift is very dependent on your physiology. You have things like your hip sockets, how deep your femurs sit in your hip sockets, how long your femurs are, how long your arms are, how long your torso is. There's a lot of different factors in there. So for example, I'm sort of a stubby lifter, right? I'm only 5'9", and I weigh right now I'm walking at about 210. So I am actually a hell of a lot stronger at the conventional than the sumo. So how could a lift be cheating if it's literally harder for me to do? Like my conventional deadlift PR is 585, which I got in competition. And then my all-time sumo deadlift PR is 565. And I have trained the living shit out of that too. It's just that for my physiology, the conventional deadlift is a lot better for me than the sumo deadlift. Like, yes, the sumo deadlift is over a slightly shorter range of motion, but the primary movers involved, the mechanics of it are very different from the conventional deadlift in general. I feel like if you have a wider squat stance, that a wider sumo or a wider deadlift stance is going to be better for you. So if you sumo squat, sumo deadlift is going to be better for you. I can't even break parallel with a wide stance squat. So I have to be very close with my squat in order to break parallel. So it's literally apples and oranges. They're two totally different lifts that you use for totally different purposes. So if someone says that sumo is cheating, they're either a CrossFitter or they just don't know what they're talking about in general. So CrossFitter, whatever. All right, Barbell King. If powerlifting had to add in a fourth movement, what would you choose? Overhead press or weighted pull-up? Honestly, I would pick the overhead press, hands down. Absolutely. I would even argue replacing the bench press with the overhead press. Hear me out, only because it's more aesthetic. Okay. If you go to a powerlifting meet and you watch a guy bench press, you're pretty much just staring at his balls the whole time. It's not a very aesthetic event. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's cool watching a guy get a 600-pound bench or a 700-pound bench or whatever, but it doesn't change the fact that you're staring at a dude's balls the entire time. So I would argue that the strict press is a more aesthetic looking movement than the bench press. But I know that would never change. So it's always going to be the big three. But yeah, as far as a fourth event, hands down, it would be the overhead press. I think that the overhead press in basically every category possible is a superior lift to the bench press. Bench press is good for overloading on your upper body. However, the overhead press is a lot more technical. It requires muscle stabilization all the way down to your feet, all the way up to the tips of your hands. So it takes a lot more to obviously be able to overhead press more weight. So definitely what I would say there. Okay. Any tips on how I can increase my squat? LMAO, it's weak. I assume you meant to say ASF. So increase your squat. I mean, I don't know where you're at. Are you a beginner? Are you new to squatting? Are you running strong lifts 5x5? What kind of program are you running? Yeah, I mean, if you're going to the gym and just kind of winging it, you don't have a plan, you're not following a program, that's your first mistake. You definitely should be following some sort of protocol from somebody. So give me something more specific in terms of where you're at with your training, and I'll be able to answer that question a little more thorough. So like I said, if you're squatting, what kind of program are you actually running? Is it strong lifts, 5x5 intermediate, 90 kilograms for one rep? Okay. So you're sitting at about, I'm American, so about 200 pounds or so for a single. And then are you a male or female? What are your dimensions? What's your height and weight? Stuff like that. Give me that and I will get back to your question. But before we do that, we're going to answer some more comments from all over the channel. And this one is on the trap bar overhead press. I had a few good questions on here that I'm going to answer. All right. So this one is from a Korean guy. I can't pronounce his name. All right. So he said, hello, there is no setup movement. How to lift. All right. So this is kind of in broken English. So he's basically asking, how do you set up the overhead press with the trap bar? The answer to that is you definitely want to be doing it in a power rack. You want to have some sort of safety measure for dropping the weight. With the trap bar overhead press, there is no safe way to bail it. So if you're trying to press and you fail, you're going to want to be in a power rack. You're going to want to have some kind of some kind of safety measure in place, because there is no safe way to bail a trap bar if you're doing overhead press. So to answer your question, I'm really sorry that I can't read Korean characters and I don't know your name, but to answer I hope I answered your question there. Like I said, definitely do it in a power rack. Do not just kind of wing it with the trap bar, because if you do fail the weight, you're going to be in some deep shit. So, and then one more question. I'm going to get back into the chat here in a second, but one more question. This one is from MR. This one is also on the trap bar overhead press video. Why not just do dumbbells or kettlebells for neutral grip? Right. So if we're talking about just neutral grip itself, the trap bar, the dumbbell and kettlebell options are very viable, just as viable as the trap bar. However, since the trap bar is not using as many stabilizers as you would with a dumbbell or a kettlebell, it's a lot more primary mover focused. You're going to be able to overload a lot more weight on the trap bar than you're going to be able to get with a kettlebell or a dumbbell. So in terms of getting more weight, you're going to be wanting to use a dumbbell or a kettlebell. Or, if you're trying to get more weight, you want to be using a barbell or a trap bar or a Swiss bar or something like that. If you're trying to actually hit those smaller stabilizer muscles, though, the dumbbell and the kettlebell are going to be better options. All right, back to the chat. Let's see. 5x5 intermediate. Davy Jones asks if I'm a wrestling fan. I'm not. I've never really watched pro wrestling. When I was a kid, I did, back when Hulk Hogan here, like I said, I'm almost 36 years old here. But like when we had like the Iron Sheik and Hulk Hogan and the Undertaker and that old school cadre, Bret and Owen Hart, back when I forget which one of them even died, but back when they were active, that's back when I was watching wrestling. I pretty much stopped when I was maybe 6 or 7 years old. I don't think it's a terrible sport. I get a kick out of watching Eric Bugenhagen and people like that. But as a sport, it's not really something I keep up with. Personally, you see Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm back here. I'm a little bit more into MMA. I don't even really watch boxing that much. And if there's a huge bout, I might tune into a boxing match. But typically it's just UFC, MMA. It's pretty much all I watch is in terms of combat sports. Okay, so the next one, Shako TT says he's a male, 5'9", 85 kilograms, about 190 pounds. I know, pretty bad. Well, I wouldn't feel bad about it. Honestly, if you feel like you're plateauing, Shako, it might be wise to kind of drop the weight back. Maybe 5x5s aren't working for you either. The 5 repetition rep range, it is very good for strength output. It's pretty much the best rep range you can have for strength output. However, if you're doing nothing but sets of 5 over and over and over and over, you're going to plateau. So If you want to break that plateau, I would seriously recommend looking into Jim Wendler's 531. Especially beyond 531. Beyond 531 is a little more powerlifting specific. But I'll tell you, like, I was running 5x5 programs very heavily back in 2012, 2013. And when I switched to 531, it was a freaking game changer. I mean, a massive game changer. Because not only are you using different rep ranges, as the name implies, you have a 5-3 day, a 5 repetition theme day, you have a 3 repetition theme day, and then you have a 5-3-1 day. I felt like I broke a lot of plateaus by doing that. So if 5s aren't working, if you feel like you're stuck doing 5s, it's probably time to switch it up. Like I said, 5-3-1, you will definitely thank me later. Just make sure I would recommend reading the book, and I would recommend especially do not go into 5-3-1 with a lot of ego. Okay. So you've got to be real honest with where you're at, dial the weights back. It's going to suck at first. Trust me. When I first started running 5-3-1 after reading the book, I was like, dude, what are you like? This is a really low weight. Like, how am I even going to make gains doing this? And then over time, I'll tell you, like after the first cycle or so, after the first month, you're going to see a huge difference. Not only in your strength, but, in your hypertrophy in general. I can't recommend 5-3-1 enough as an intermediate program. It's easily my favorite. So I hope that answers your question there, Shako. Just switch it up, man. It sounds like you're kind of stagnated with your 5x5 stuff. If I hope there's no Ripto people in here. I know that he swears by nothing but 5s, but I'm telling you, if the 5s aren't working anymore, then they're just never going to work again. So you just got to switch it up, my man. That's it. All right, mate. Thanks a lot. Yeah, no problem, Shako. Anytime. Okay, so Barbell King has another question. Final question before I sign out. Best all-time movements for posterior chain, both upper body and lower body. Okay, so posterior chain it's in your lower body. So there's not really any upper body movements that I can recommend for the posterior chain. Man, I don't want to be flaky on this, but there's not a really good direct way to answer that question. For lower body movements, posterior chain. I mean, personally, my favorite is the trap bar deadlift. I'm just a huge fan of it. Conventional deadlift would be a close second. Front squats. I mean, it's like, I don't think I could really pick one, to be honest. There, Barbell King. I don't think I could really narrow it down. But like I said, there's not really going to be any upper body posterior chain exercises, since the posterior chain is in your lower body. So really, I look like Jericho. I look like Jericho. Is that a TV show reference, like the Jericho TV show? I've had that recommended to me. I do tend to like post-apocalyptic type stuff. And my sister keeps hounding on me to check out Jericho. So I don't know if that's what you're talking about. Oh, you're talking about the wrestler, Jericho the wrestler. Oh shit. Thanks. I don't even know what that guy looks like, but I appreciate it. I'm sure he's a good looking dude. All right. David Jones asks top music for lifting. I did a video on my 30 favorite metal songs. So you can check that one out. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Devin Townsend, in the gym and out of the gym. Just a huge fan of really any kind of progressive metal type music. Top music for lifting, Rocky IV soundtrack. Like I said, that shit is boss. Rocky 1, 2, and 3. Also some great tracks on there. It all depends on my mood, man. Like sometimes I will go all in with heavy metal. That's typically if I'm feeling more aggressive. I'll put on some really heavy stuff, like some slam or some hardcore or like some deathcore or something like that. Or even like black metal, some like Cradle of Filth or something like that. let me think of non-metal though. I like a lot of punk rock. Old AFI. I would say AFI before Sing the Sorrow for the gym. I do like Sing the Sorrow, but it's not very good gym music. So pre Sing the Sorrow, AFI. Hatebreed is a must-have in the gym. If you go to any powerlifting competition and they're not playing Hatebreed, then you're not really doing powerlifting. Hatebreed or Rage Against the Machine. Rage Against the Machine is really good too for lifting. I mean, it all depends on my mood though, man. Like sometimes I can just listen to rock, like just straight up like 90s, 2000s rock. Like I said, I'm a little bit older, so I'm not into the trap. I'm not into a lot of rap unless it's more gangster stuff from my time era, like obviously Tupac and Biggie, like everyone else says. But yeah, like it just depends on my mood. Nelly, Outkast, just depends on my mood. Yes, I do love my Rocky IV. Absolutely, it is the GOAT. Tested or non-tested powerlifting. In terms of what I've competed in. I don't know if you're asking which one I prefer. I prefer to compete in tested powerlifting. Like I said, I switched to strongman, so powerlifting isn't really my thing right now. But I did prefer drug tested only because I had the illusion that I was on equal playing field. I have never done PEDs or anything like that, so I kind of wanted to be around competitors that I knew weren't doing PEDs, but it kind of turned out. So I lifted with what are they called? The IPA, International Powerlifting Association up in York. And I've done RPS. I've done a few federations and they were all drug tested, but I never got drug tested and I don't know a single person that got drug tested. And I am pretty aware of the symptoms of heavy steroid use. And there were some questionable people that I competed against. But I mean, it's a preference thing. I have nothing against people that use steroids. I mean, I'm probably, I'm getting older. I'm going on 36. So I'm probably going to be, interacting with steroids at some point, doctor supervised steroids, but, I've always preferred to compete and test it. If I were juicing, I don't really see the point in juicing for powerlifting, only because there's really no glory in it. There's no prize money. There's not really a reason to drop a bunch of money on drugs to get good at it. I will say, like, if I were a professional wrestler, if I were a professional XYZ, baseball player, football player, whatever it is, I would probably find a way to cheat. I probably would, only because everybody else is doing it. So, but at this point, I don't see the point in doing it, only because, I just do like local competitions. There's just not a point for it. And I don't want like roid rage and to get zits all over my back and shit like that. So yeah. So anyway, we have another question here about the trap bar press. Wow. It's almost been an hour. Holy crap. All right. So the next question on the trap bar press, have you ever felt irregular? Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. This one was a supplement question. Did I have any more on trap bar? Oh, someone said, I don't think doing military press with that thing is a good idea, especially when heavy. Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying earlier. If you are doing the trap bar military press, Swiss bar press, anything like that, you need to be doing that in a power rack. Like, there's no safe way to bail that weight. I know I've said it a few times already, but I guess someone wanted to know. So, all right, the next comment I have is on my video on supplements that I take. And before we get into this, I'm not a dietitian. I will give you my opinion, but don't follow any of my diet or nutrition advice without checking with your doctor, without using common sense. If you have certain allergies, obviously avoid certain foods. I mean, it should go without saying, but I'm not a dietitian though, so don't treat me like one. But anyway, So supplements. The question is, have you ever felt irregular or exaggerated heartbeat from fish oil? It took me a while to realize what it was, but that's definitely it. As soon as I stopped taking it, I felt better. Have you ever heard of this before? I've never heard of that. I have never heard of fish oil causing an irregular heartbeat. I can't say that it's not a thing. Like I said, I'm not a dietitian. I am a nutritionist, but I mean, that certification is not very hard to get. And I would be very hesitant to give random supplement advice on the internet. In my supplement video, all I pretty much said is this is the shit that I do. You know, check with your doctor and see if it's okay first. Just use a little common sense. But no, I've never heard of that before. I've never heard of any negative side effects from taking fish oil. There is some science that shows if you already have an irregular heartbeat, or like if you're a longtime smoker and you're prone to heart disease, fish oil can agitate your heart issues. And it has been directly linked to death with people that have heart disease. So if you have heart problems, you know, check with your doctor first, but you definitely don't, if you have heart disease or something like that, do not take fish oil, or at least check with your doctor first. That applies to any supplement though. Okay. I have to put that out there for legal reasons. Because I'm just a certified trainer. It's really not my lane. But yeah, people have died while taking fish oil with heart disease. It can agitate the problem. But yeah, like I said, check with your primary care first before taking some random guy's advice on YouTube. All right. Next question we have is, actually, I'm going to come back to the chat here. Hold on 1 second. He says, yeah, F that. Bigger muscles equals stronger muscles. That depends. That depends. So you have, really, there's 3 different types of muscle fiber, but really there's 2 main ones. So you have type 1 muscle fibers and type 2 muscle fibers. And I'm sorry if I'm boring you guys. You probably have heard this all over the internet. But if not, here's the answer to your question. Type 1 muscle is typically stimulated by higher rep ranges, right? So anything like 8 reps or above is pretty much going to exclusively target those type 1 muscle fibers. Now, of course, you're going to build type 2 strength as well, but you're mostly targeting the type 1. So the type 1 muscle fibers, if you're looking at like an anatomy picture, you see a lot of white muscle and you see a lot of red muscle. So the white muscle, that's your fast twitch, right? And it's white because it's carrying less oxygen. It requires less oxygen to activate. Whereas the type 1 muscle fiber requires a lot more oxygen, which is why it's red. It's engorged in blood. There's a lot of blood in your type 1 muscles. So that being said, if you work in those higher rep ranges, you're going to build that fluffy, superficial type 1 muscle fiber. Now, if you're working in the lower rep ranges, like you are, like you told me earlier, you're working 5x5s. And if you take my advice, you're going to start working 5-3-1, which is another sort of a high intensity style of training. So to answer your question, bigger muscles do not necessarily mean stronger muscles, especially if we're talking about a bodybuilder that focuses a whole lot on those slow twitch type 1 fibers. You know, obviously they're strong. There's no doubt. But can you take a bodybuilder and put them in a powerlifting competition and have them win? No, you can't. You could not take Jay Cutler or Ronnie Coleman in their prime. I don't even know who competes nowadays, but you know, Phil Heath, you couldn't take these people and put them up against like Ray Williams, who has 1,000-pound squat. There's no way in shit that Jay Cutler is able to squat 1,000 pounds, even though his muscles are a hell of a lot bigger. And that goes back to what I said before. It's because he trains the type 1 fibers a whole lot. So he's a lot more fluffy looking. He has bigger muscles, but it did not translate into strength though, because it's type 1 muscle. Yes. Exactly what Watermelon Watermelon with the Deus Ex picture said, bigger does not mean stronger. Ray is all right. That's just mean. A lot of power. Okay, if you're talking about a super heavyweight power lifter, where there is no top end for the weight limit, they're all fat. There's not a single one that isn't. But just because Ray is fat does not mean that he's not strong as fuck and a world record holder in the squat. So big something censored. Big shit, big something. Did you just say a racial slur? I've never seen YouTube automatically censor something. I assume you said something very mean about Ray Williams there. Ray is a fucking eat you for breakfast. It's true though. It's true though. He will eat you for breakfast and he will poop you out and eat his poop for pre-workout. All right, next question here. So this is off of the deadlift compilation video. Eli Lugana asks, you think the trap bar deadlift is the safest? And do you think because it's there's some broken English here, so I'm kind of working with it. Do you think it's because of neutral grip, the trap bar, you get less percent into your muscles? Well, shit, man. I probably should have read that twice before I picked that for screening. I don't know why my dog just whimpered. You all right, doggy? You all right, buddy? All right, anyway, yeah, I don't understand this question here. Yes, I think the trap bar is safe for beginners. Yes, because it has a neutral grip, it's lower range of motion, and because you're not sitting behind the bar, it's just kind of easier to get into position. Or you get less percentage into your muscles. I don't know what you're trying to say there. I'm just gonna, I don't know, man. It's kind of weird. Little language barrier issue going on there. All right, let's see. Back to the chat. Poop you out without a second thought. Yeah, I mean, Ray is totally a top level athlete. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, yeah, you can joke about him being fat or whatever, and the dude's liver is probably pretty fucked, but he's a beast. He's an ox. He's very good at what he does. He's at the very top of his sport. So you can't fault him for that. I mean, he definitely gets down on the Big Macs, and I don't know about his diet, but yeah, I would say overall not the healthiest individual on the planet, but he is very impressive. He definitely kicks ass at squatting 1,000 pounds. All right. And this is a question on the loaded carries video. All right. So Terminator 35678 asks, how many reps, sets, and rest for loaded carries? So in terms of sets, typically I go for 3 to 6, at least 3 minimum. It all depends on what I'm doing. If it's sort of an afterthought, if it's more of an accessory movement, I'll do about three sets, maybe 4 sets. I don't really go overboard with it. But if obviously the strongman competition that I'm training for right now, where I have to pull a fucking semi truck, like, yeah, I'm definitely loading up on the loaded carries. I'm doing at least 6 sets every session that I am doing loaded carries because I am trying to volume up for competition. So to answer your question, if you're using a loaded carry as more of an accessory movement, I would stick to lower sets. I mean, have a ball with it. If you want to do 5 or 6 sets, go for it. But I don't really see a point in doing any more than 3, though. If you're just kind of a, casual lifter, you're not really trying to compete in anything. You're not trying to really build up your grip or anything like that, or you're not doing it for a specific purpose. I would say three sets is just fine. But if you're a competitor, like me, you want to be a lot higher with your training volume. So you're going to want 5, 6, 7, 8, however many sets you can recover from. That's all very subjective. So as for rest intervals with loaded carries, I treat these pretty much the same as hypertrophy sets. So 1 to 2 minutes in between sets, in between carries is sufficient for rest. But I don't understand why you're asking how many Okay, so how many sets? Obviously, there's no repetitions with loaded carries. So I guess if you're asking how long should you carry said object for, that's going to be more based on your RPE, the rate of perceived exertion. So how hard the lift is for you. So if it feels, if you're doing like a farmer's walk and, you know, you're at the point where you're like gripping it in your like outer knuckles, you know, that's a really high RPE. So, I mean, it just depends on your goals. That's the short answer. I give you a really, really long and drawn out answer there though. But it depends on your goals. All right. Thanks for the question there, Terminator. Okay. All right. So back to the track here. Thoughts on Elgin Intensity. Elgin Intensity is a fucking legend. I like a lot of the call out guys. Man, I don't want to start getting controversial by talking shit about certain people, but there's certain YouTubers, Kenny KO, that kind of, they do nothing but clout chase. The dude's such a fucking liar. The dude like photoshops his pictures, and some of these people are just a joke. If we're talking about call out people, Elgin Intensity, my girlfriend hates him. She hates how monotone he is, but I like him. I like his content. I think he's hilarious. I like his, when he reads his comments from haters. You know how he puts the glasses on and lawyers up. The dude's he's got a really good YouTube channel there. Who's the guy I found recently that I called that I shouted out earlier? Pure Bullfit. So if you kind of like what's the guy's name? Every Damn Day Fitness. There's another guy that's kind of similar. He's kind of about 8 or 9 months old. He's kind of a newer channel, but his name is Pure Bullfit. He puts out some gold. I've been just geeking out over his videos over the last few days. So definitely check him out. Trust me, we're not friends or affiliated. I don't know the guy. We just both decided to pick Bull, and mine is more of a reference to Dungeons and Dragons. That's right. I played D&D as a kid, and I named my company after a D&D spell. So suck on that. Phil Lyon neutered Kenny KO. Phil Lyon. I don't really know this guy very well. I think I seen him in like a Juji Mufu video, which seems like fucking everybody's in Juji Mufu videos, but he's like the go-to guy to collaborate with, I guess. Phil's pretty good. I've caught a couple of his videos. He comes off as a little bit too, I don't know, a little bit too combative. I don't know. I like him, but he's not my favorite call out guy. That's just me. It's whatever. But yeah, this Pure Bullfit guy is worth checking out. Okay, so next, you definitely gained my respect even more now. Commentary channels, all I do is talk shit. Yeah, and I'll talk some shit too. It's obviously not the theme of my channel. I try to stick to more, beginner to intermediate advice, even some advanced advice. But I'm not here to burn a bunch of bridges. I will call out retards when people are being stupid. I still want to do, I don't even know if it's worth it, but part of me wants to do a video on like the Genova verse, maybe like Jason Genova, Jason Blaha, like vegan gains. I've been wanting to go after that guy for a long time, but like I said, it's not really a call out channel. But I do call people out here and there. Like the Mark Ripto video that I did, it wasn't even really that much of a call out, I guess. I mean, I just didn't agree with what he said about the trap bar. And you go and check that video out. People took it really fucking personal in the comments. Like, I was surprised, like the amount of personal attacks. I mean, I knew that I was opening the floodgates and that I was going to get a bunch of people coming to my channel attacking me. But like, come on, man. Like, I have a different opinion than him on the trap bar. I didn't say I hated the guy. I think Ripto is all right, but whatever. You are the man. Well, thank you, David Jones. Appreciate you. My favorite color. All right, watermelon, you're digging deep here. Green. Anything else? Forest green. All right. Anyway, so Planet Fitness. Someone commented, "What is the lunk alarm? What is the lunk alarm?" The lunk alarm is a very loud and obnoxious thing that they do in Planet Fitness. Basically, if you're putting in too much effort, if you are straining on a lift, if you let out a little grunt, if they think you're ego lifting, if one of your nipples pops out, they will sound the lunk alarm and make fucking half of the gym go deaf and piss a lot of people off. But that's basically what the lunk alarm is. It's just some obnoxious bullshit. All right. Well, that was 12 questions from all over my YouTube channel. I answer questions on the ammonia video, on the trap bar overhead press, and Planet Fitness. I was going to get a little bit more into the Mark Rippetoe stuff, but I just want you guys to know, like, I don't hate him. I don't have any hate at all for Mark Rippetoe. He is one of the first guys that I came across when I got into strength training. You know, I did kind of browse through starting strength, and I ran his program for a little bit. I mean, it's whatever, man. I'm still surprised how much I pissed people off at that one. Who's the bunk? Where's the bunt cake lady? Yeah, that was a little much there. Giving a panel and just like stuff in your face with cupcakes, like it's a fitness panel. I don't know. It just seemed kind of trashy. But like I said, this isn't a call out channel. So, I mean, don't expect that to be a regular thing. Like I said, I do have a few more people on my list. And the people that I'm going to be calling out, you know, they got to be people that are really fucking up. You know what I mean? Like that. Who's that Tyrone guy? Anyone in the chat? I forget his name, but there's some dude named Tyrone that makes these protein shakes that are nothing but carbs, and just the fitness advice that he puts out is absolute trash. Yeah, whatever. I might do a couple of call outs here in the future, but I'd like to get more into like the fat acceptance, thin privilege thing, but it seems like that's kind of beating a dead horse a little bit, which is why the last time I uploaded a video like that was like 7 or 8 months ago. I feel like I've beaten the shit out of that topic. So I don't know if I'm not every damn day fitness, so I'm not going to talk about Tess Holiday every other day, but I don't know if I come across something really controversial, I'll call their fat asses out again, I guess. Tyrone Magnus, is that the guy's name? The raw. Oh yeah. Yes. The raw egg in a shake, tuna and eggs for breakfast. God, that's nasty. I did not see that. I just saw the protein shake where he has like half a bag of frozen vegetables and like a bunch of oats, and it's just so stupid. It's not a protein shake. Like, not only is that a meal replacement, but that's a meal replacement that's going to give you some horrendous shits. Like, you are going to be squirting. I wouldn't follow anything that guy says. He's obviously taking whatever. He's on Popeye spinach. Okay. The dude is not real. He's completely full of shit. All I've seen is that the protein shake video. Man, my sinuses are fucked up. My allergies this time of year are terrible. Yeah, he's a grade A idiot. I saw a video where he was like trying to call out a bunch of other YouTubers, like some 135-pound overhead press challenge. And the dude is like push pressing for half range of motion. And then he gets through like 21 reps. And then I don't remember. He says like, I'm stronger than fucking like Eddie Hall. Not Eddie Hall, but he calls out a bunch of people that are clearly stronger than him. And he's like, well, look at what I did. I fucking killed it. All right. I'm going to start winding down here. It's been an hour and 20 minutes. But Watermelon's still hanging out. So let's chat. Yeah, he is a great idiot. Favorite lift. Good question. That's a hard one. I'm gonna have to split that between upper body and lower body, but my favorite upper body movement, hands down, is the barbell strict press. It's just one of the best lifts out there for the upper body. I feel like it's better than the bench. Like, the bench press is good for overloading and kind of focusing more on isolating the upper body, whereas the overhead press takes stabilization from every muscle in your body. So I feel like the overhead press is just more boss than the bench press in general. So overall, I would probably say the overhead strict press is my favorite. And lower body lift. I have to give you two answers. I can't just give you one. So overhead press, upper body, lower body. It's going to be some kind of deadlift. Probably the trap bar deadlift. I do love the conventional deadlift too. They're kind of tied. Honestly, since I switched to strongman training and I've been focused a lot more on neutral grip deadlifting, I've gotten a little bit tired of the trap bar. I do kind of miss the conventional deadlift. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, I'm cool. Enjoy your stuff. Well, thank you, Watermelon. I appreciate it. Appreciate all you guys for supporting me, subscribing. It's kind of mind-blowing how many of you there are now. Coming up on 700 subs now. I really freaking appreciate it. Some of you guys have been with me since since I was doing single take videos, in my old gym, which was 100 square feet, this little piece of shit where I was doing one-on-one training. And yeah, I just appreciate all the support, and I'm going to keep making content for you. I was actually planning on doing this Q&A thing. Like, I had these questions ready and I was just kind of going to make and edit a video. But instead I kind of decided to just do it live because I figured, you guys might have some questions. So, all right. Hope you have a good night, man. I have to head out. Hope you stream more often. Well, I really appreciate that, Watermelon. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. And if you guys want it, I'll give it to you. I will definitely look into streaming more often. Maybe we'll make this a Saturday night thing. But anyway, I'm about to sign out here. So if you want to follow me anywhere else, I have a dead Instagram page. I don't use Instagram anymore since they switched up the algorithm that has kind of fucked the smaller pages. Instagram's not really my thing anymore. But if you want to follow me somewhere else, you can follow me on Facebook, Bull Strength, just at Bull Strength on Facebook. I don't have a Twitter because I'm banned from Twitter. I'm not even going to get into that right now. But maybe the next live stream we'll talk about why I'm banned from Twitter. And then I'm also on BitChute. Okay, so a lot of you guys are probably aware, we got this big update coming that is going to screw over a lot of smaller creators. So I doubt that I'm going to get hemmed up in this because I don't feel like my channel targets children. But I don't really know. This new policy that YouTube is putting out looks very broad. So if you want to follow me somewhere else, if you're in that crowd that is getting sick of YouTube's bullshit, you can also follow me on BitChute. However, I'm going to do my best on YouTube. I'm going to stay on this platform for as long as I can and make the best of it. Good night, David. Thank you for tuning in and hanging out. And Watermelon, thanks to both of you guys. Really appreciate you. And yeah. So the policy changes are kind of up in the air right now. So I would recommend following me on BitChute. If you want to support the channel, I do have a Patreon and Subscribestar, and I do online coaching. So if you are interested in that, you can check the Patreon Subscribestar pages out, and I can coach you online through email, through Skype, however you want to do it. I do have another competition coming up, which I'm training for. I will put out a lot more details on that here in the near future. Once again, I appreciate all you guys for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. I got a ton of questions, a lot more than I thought I was going to get. And I sound like Jericho. Oh, I look like Jericho and I sound like Jericho. I'm going to have to look up this Jericho guy. I assume it's a compliment though. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with me on Saturday night. And I will see you in the next video. I will have something up this week. Peace out. And here we go. Peace out.